Hi everybody, welcome to the Wellbeing Show. My name is Dr. Ruth Mary Allen, and this show is all about taking the boo out of taboo, and I'm super excited because today I have Diane Schrock on the show, who is a family and marriage therapist and an emotional intelligence coach. I'm super excited to have you here, Diane. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. Hey, I love being here on the show. I love connecting with you. And I can't think of anything that's more important than being the boss of our wellness, taking charge. So let's go for it. Open up, ask questions. I am so excited to be here.
Me too. So today, the topic of today on the show is all about our relationship with work and how that can really impact our marriage relationships or those that we love, and also our family and friends. And I know this was a real issue for me back in 2016, and you really helped me get out of the rut that I was in with my relationship with work. So tell me a little bit about what you see as the key triggers for our relationship with work and how that can really impact our relationship with everything else.
All right, great. I want to unfold it a bit and start with where I think is the best place to start is where are we at right now? Where, just doing an assessment, quick assessment doesn't, just write down, here's where I'm at. These are the choices that I've made. And get some clarity around that. Because everything that's going on in our lives, it's not a fluke. We didn't just end up here because fairy dust was sprinkled or something. There's a reason for it. And not that we are in control of all of that, but we have some control of that and some decision making. And so really get clear on that. So that's where I would start out with. Stress is tricky. And a lot of times, once we figure out where we're at, and this is the thing that I think is really important. And when I'm working with my clients, I ask them, let's take a peek at the past. Not live there, not dive in, not set up camp. Well, we're gonna like a rear view mirror in a car. Let's take a peek at what went on. And as a therapist, I could hang out there. I could have like a whole complex going on there of places to hang out. But it's not healthy to do that. And it actually creates more signs of depression and stress in people's lives. So let's take a peek. And then what we can do is we can kind of look at, what did I learn? What are the stories that I learned as a child? Okay? Because this is a thing, Ruth, and we've talked about this. In those first 6 years of your life, you're getting a lot of information and what I call plugins to who you are. And you don't even know what emotional intelligence is. You don't know what personality is. All you know is you want to connect and you want to belong. Right. So there's a lot that happens in those first 6 years, and then we just reinforce it and look for examples of that the rest of our lives. So get clear where you're at, the decisions that you've made, and then take a peek at the past and then see where that's showing up today.
Right.
Sense of what stresses me out the most? What are the stressors in my life? So that's where I would start.
Right, great. And so once people have identified the stresses that they've got in their life, whether that's coming back from the past to the present or it's stresses in the present, what would be your advice in terms of how they can move themselves forward, how they can overcome some of those stressful experiences that they're having, whether that's work or work relationship with their family life or their marriage? What would you say to people?
Yeah, I always think that doing the inside work is the most important. Knowing that we're not only is it almost impossible to change other people, it's not our job.
Right.
Let's look at what's going on with me. What's my mindset like? What energy am I bringing to the relationship? And work on those things, because even if you lose the job or you lose that particular relationship, and when I say lose, I just mean you're moving to the next place, you're letting go, moving to the next place. If you're working on yourself, you're getting more and more what I call emotional intelligence, because that's my thing,
Right.
about that a lot. When I'm increasing my emotional intelligence and doing that inside work, it's going to help me in every relationship, in every job, everywhere I go. So we can start with where we are now, do the inside work, and then and the other part that I think is really important, and this is a mistake, probably one of the biggest mistakes people make. They take too big of a step.
Right.
I want it all down. I want everything to be all better right now. And I want to take really big steps because I'm a big girl or guy, you know, I can do this, you know, I'm tough. I can do hard things, but you don't have to do it the hardest way.
Right.
You know? And taking those big steps, they don't work. It doesn't work in dieting. I've never done it in my life, but I'm real clear in what I look at. It doesn't work.
Yeah.
Try to, 10 pounds in 2 days or something, it's like, that's ridiculous. But 10 pounds in 2 months or in 6 months, most people could do that if you have a plan to do that and take little steps.
Yeah.
Tiny little steps in the right direction, by the way.
Yeah, of course. I always kind of think of it as we don't sprint off the starting blocks if we are going to run a marathon. We have to really pace ourselves, right?
Well, some people do because I'm into running, and so they I've never done marathons, but I do 10Ks, and I see 10Ks are shorter,
right?
But I see people sprinting at the beginning of those, and I'm like, what are you doing? And so the same like that, it's like, no, pace yourself, and if anything, save that extra energy for the really hard times.
Right.
And most of us in a 10K, which is at 6.2 miles, it's like when you hit 5 miles, it's like, now you got to dig deep.
Right.
So save that burst for those times where you have to dig deep and you have to really use that emotional intelligence that you've gained. So did I answer your question? I hope.
Yeah, you did.
Go on.
I think you did. I think one thing I'd really like to talk about is energy, because you've mentioned that a few times, and this was one of the things that really kind of sucked the life out of me. I didn't have enough energy when I was struggling with work relationships, and you talked about the importance of understanding what energy you bring into the room. So how do you advise people to look into themselves and understand the energy that they're bringing into their relationships?
Yeah. Well, I do a little self-assessment, how much energy am I bringing into the relationship?
Yeah.
Energy can look a lot of ways. Energy could be like, what are you doing? It could be like nagging and that's energy. But is it the energy that I would want for myself to have others sharing with me?
Right.
I worked with Brendon Burchard, our coaching certifications are with Brendon Burchard, and he uses this phrase, bring the joy.
Right. And
when I first started working with him, I was a little bit like, what do you mean bring the joy? Like, right? The world is supposed to entertain me, right? I'm supposed to get all my joy from everything out here. Well, if we want to kind of go to parenting, which is a relationship, if you do that with your children, if you're expecting them to bring joy into your life on a regular basis, you're going to be pretty starved at times. Starved. It's the same. You get a boss and he's just not Mr. Joyous.
Yeah.
Right? What are you going to do with that? He is not bringing the joy.
Right.
And so what do we often do? Well, we're like, well, if he doesn't bring the joy, then I'm not going to, why should I have to? He should. We can do all that, all the shoulds all over the place.
Right.
But we can make a decision about how we want to be in this world and bring joy to every place we land. I think it's Oprah Winfrey who has a sign like, you're responsible for the energy you bring.
Exactly. Yeah.
Was it her? I think it was. So, be responsible for the energy you bring. Now, the word perfect is the worst word in the world, right? Because we want to do it perfectly. And again, we want to sprint. we're like, okay, Diane, tell me how to be the perfect joyous person, you know, as if there was a pill for it. And maybe there is, and I haven't, you know, learned about it, but, you know, no, we have to practice being joyous.
Right.
Practice. Yes.
And how do people bring the joy more into their workplace environment? I guess for me, it was about showing up as my true self, because sometimes we adjust ourselves to the environment that we are in, and that really affects our psyche because we kind of feel misaligned to who we are. So how do you help people really be find the true self?
Yeah, you know, I'm thinking back to when we were together. And one of the things that comes up a lot with clients is, you know, they're in an environment that they've outgrown.
Right.
Or they've landed there for whatever reason, past, present, some idea of the future, but they're there and they're like, I do not want to be here. I do not like being here. This is not, you know, they know, you know. Yeah. That's going back to what I talked about initially, is like, where are you at?
Right.
And, you know, maybe asking yourself, why am I there? And what can I do to make the changes I need to make so that I can bring the joy authentically to every relationship that I have? I think you need to be honest with yourself. You know, if you're planted, I mean, I'm looking at you right now. If you're planted somewhere that is not a good fit for you, it doesn't mean you don't bring the joy. It means you bring the joy as you look at, how am I going to make the changes I need to make so that I can be in a relationship at work that is a better fit.
Right.
Now, there's a difference between a job and I guess an avocation or you know, soul work.
Sure.
So anyone who's watching this, if you have a JOB, God bless you. They're very useful. I've had hundreds of JOBs in my life. I am thankful for almost every single one. There might be two that I wish didn't, you know, but basically they help. They pay the rent. You put food in our mouths. You know, sometimes we're the person that has to provide for other people and for ourselves. So if you have a JOB and you're just doing the work to bring home the money, you're amazing. I just want to say that right now. You are amazing. When the job that I have, being a marriage family therapist and a coach and a podcaster, and I've created a mobile application that's called Dare You, and I love everyone. Like, I'm in love with, it's almost like I feel a little guilty, like I shouldn't be in love with that many things, you know, that many, but I really am. And so, but I've had those jobs, and I had to support myself growing up. And the little story, I'm just going to go off on a little tangent here. When I was growing up and going to college, I drove a Volkswagen minivan. Okay. Now this minivan had a bed in it. It had a sink. It had a little closet. It had a little fridge. You know, it had, like, I always told myself, if everything falls apart, I can live in my van. Now, I never one day ever lived in my van. That's of knowing that I had. So this is where I come from, right?
Right.
I didn't come from like a lot of money, a lot of feeling super secure. So my job was my security.
Right.
Okay? But it doesn't have, I can bring the joy, do my own personal work, and bring the joy to my job through gratitude that I'm making money so that I don't have to live in my minivan. Okay.
Right.
And for anyone out there that lives in their minivan, it's actually kind of cool. Like the minivan, that's okay. And that's where you're at right now. So your job helps you be there and move forward. Bring the joy to that. Bring the gratitude to that. Okay. And then take the tiniest little itsy bitsy step towards where you want to go.
Right.
Right? Okay. Now, if you have the job that you love, it should be a little bit easier to bring the joy, right? Because you're happy about the job. But what about all those other relationships? What about the ones that, you know, after you get off the, you know, our interview and I go out and I'm like, what is going on out there? You know, so you see, you have to practice bringing the joy minute by minute by minute. It isn't something you can check off a list and say, brought the joy, done.
Yeah.
It's a practice. So I kind of went all over the place there, but I think recognizing where you're at and accepting that, because acceptance is really important. Stop fighting it. This is where you're at for a reason. Now, where do you want to go? What's the next step? And bring the joy no matter where you landed or where you are right now.
Right. So what would your number one piece of advice be to somebody who's struggling to find the balance between their working relationship and their relationship at home, whether that's with their family or the loved one?
Okay. This is me. I don't believe in balance. I don't think there isn't. What's balance? I mean, if I actually am balancing perfectly, there's that word again. It's just a matter of a nanosecond where I'm off balance again. So it's not about balance as much as it is about prioritizing and purpose.
Okay.
So what is important to you? And these are the guideposts that I talk about, establishing those guideposts, or what do you prioritize in your life? And give attention to those things that you prioritize. Pay attention. So say yes to those things, those activities, and say no to the other stuff.
Right.
Now, the other stuff is often stuff we don't want to say no to, because it's stuff that numbs us out, right? We can kind of like, oh, I don't feel the pain of everyday life when I'm doing these numb out kind of things. So we end up saying yes to the internet. We end up saying yes to alcohol overconsumption. We say yes to drugs to kind of put us in, you know, it doesn't really, very seldom do we go to a happy place. We go to a numb out place, and things like pornography people don't want to talk about, but there's a lot of people that are in this addictive place with a lot of these numbing out activities. Okay. So really knowing what your priorities are, because I've never met a person who said, Diane, did my priority list, and at the top of my priority list is being a drug addict, being an alcoholic. That's never been anyone's priority.
Right.
And yet that's where they're paying attention and spending a lot of time.
Right.
And so I think getting clear, what are your priorities, and then focus on those and put your energy, because we talked about energy, put your energy into those areas.
Right.
And ask yourself, moment by moment by moment, am I living on purpose? Okay. Okay. So I ask people, what's the purpose of your life? You might have heard that question before.
I have, yes.
What is the purpose of your life? Oh, do we have recordings? Anyway, so knowing the purpose of your life, and it doesn't have to be fancy, but knowing why you're here. I ask people, like, what's the purpose of your life? Number one statement that they make is like, I don't know. I'm not sure. Great question. Let me think about it. The purpose of your life is why you are here.
Right.
Okay. When I ask why people have stress, if you don't know why you're here, that could be pretty stressful.
Right.
Because you're confused, overwhelmed. How many people out there have said, I'm confused or I'm overwhelmed in the last 10 minutes? Probably 92%. Okay. Right? Because we're not living in purpose.
Yeah.
So being able to say the purpose of my life is to be, what do I want to be?
Yeah.
What do I want to do with this life? And why do I want to do it? So knowing your why.
Yeah, yeah.
Right? That eliminates a lot of the fuel for stress. because we could always, when we start feeling stress and we feel it in our bodies, start feeling it, go to your purpose.
Right.
Okay? Go to the purpose of your life. Why are you here? And then what are your priorities?
Right.
You see how simple this is?
Yeah.
Like, it's just a bunch of things that start with P, you know, purpose, priority, people, passion, praise, I don't know. But it's just, yes, it's simple. But if you go to my blog, the line at the last thing that I say is, it's simple, not always easy, but simple.
Right.
It's simply shocking because I'm a little goofball. But yeah. So yeah,
making sure that they know what their priority is or priorities are in life, and making sure that aligns with their understanding of their own purpose, who they want to be, what they want to do, and why it's important to them.
Right.
Brilliant.
It's such a great and easy tool to use, because let's say I am one of the purposes of my life in there is to be healthy, to be physically healthy. Okay. If I decide to go upstairs and eat 3 donuts, okay, and have a diet soda, I don't think there's anyone on this planet that would say that fits into a healthy container, particularly if I do it on a regular basis, right?
Right.
And yet how many of us are going to, I don't have time, I'm going to go to fast food, right? I'm just going to drive through, and I'm, because I don't have time. That's the other thing, is it's not about time, it's about prioritizing.
Right.
Time. Right? Yeah. Time is the equalizer. We all have the same amount of time.
Right.
Okay. So yeah, going to what's the purpose of your life, getting clear, because that's why you're here, setting some goals around that, and then prioritizing.
Yeah. And I know some people really struggle with defining what their life's purpose is. So sometimes it's better to look at it in a smaller chunk of time to get clarity on what your purpose is for the year or for the next 5 years, so that you're not feeling overwhelmed with defining your whole life's purpose. Do you find that helps with people?
Yeah. I mean, I was going to ask you, because you did the work as well as me, like how was it for you defining your purpose? Because you were, as you've probably talked about and disclosed, and I think I saw you talk about the struggle. Yes, in fact, I did. Yeah. I watched you video yourself talking about the struggle.
Right.
So how did you do that purpose development or building of the purpose of your life?
So I think my purpose has been fairly consistent in terms of what I wanted to do, but my life has been inconsistent. I've been bumping around all over the place and been in and out of alignment with my purpose. So I always wanted to help people activate and harness their full potential. But what I found is the environment, certainly from a workplace perspective, wasn't allowing me to realize that and to do it. And I felt misaligned with what I really wanted to do, my purpose in life. And that then helped me get the clarity in that I needed to make the shift and do what was important to me.
Right. So you did pretty much what I've outlined here, is you just, you looked at where you were at, you got very real, and then you could see clearly, this is where I'm at. And then you could set up some steps to take that weren't the easiest steps. No, nor have they been for me. Another thing that people forget about is that this world that we live in, this life that we have, is messy. I learned this a lot later in life, is I kept thinking that if I tried hard enough, that I could put a really pretty bow on everything. Like I could make it unmessy, whatever, however you say it. I could abolish messiness, which is a big fat lie I was telling myself. And it's a waste of energy, Ruth. It was a waste of energy. I was trying to Martha Stewart, life. And even Martha Stewart struggled, she had her struggle it got messy for her too. So why would I think that that was my job to make everything all non-messy?
Right.
Oh,
And I think
yeah.
the struggle I had was picking the relationship that was most important to me. And it was disentangling, well, the relationship that was most important to me was the relationship with my husband, but it was disentangling the mess that was going on at work to get that clarity that was what I really needed to focus on, and all the things needed to align with that.
Right. Well, and I think, if I could just, make a slight little correction to that, your number one relationship was with you.
Right.
That's a relationship.
Right.
And then you can prioritize more effectively where you want to put your focus.
Right.
Your husband, your dear husband is a high priority for you.
Right.
But when you were putting so much energy into work that wasn't a good fit for you.
Right.
It was like, how do you have a good relationship over here when this relationship, all you want to do is come home and like talk about how crummy this relationship is, and that's not bringing the joy, for sure. We know that. And it's a little wearing and taxing on the other person. I think that they should have to listen to us a bit. I do. I really do. Like, you're with me, so that's part of the package. But I think that it does get a little, okay, what are you going to do about it?
Right.
So developing and working on your relationship with yourself so that you can prioritize and then say, okay, what do I need to do with this?
Right.
Where do I go with this? And how can I really prioritize my relationship with my husband so that I can have that beautiful expression of intimacy and love and connection that we all want? Almost all of us.
And this comes right back to the focus of this show, which is all about taking back control of your well-being and really being the boss of you, making sure that you've got yourself centered and your energy is aligned and optimized to how you want to show up in the world. So what one challenge would you like to set to the audience? Because I know you do these great Dare You challenges. What challenge would you like to set? Maybe around relationships or working relationships?
I think the best challenge that I could give anyone is just really love yourself. As cheesy as that sounds, the only reason it sounds cheesy, by the way, is because no one says it.
Right.
No one says it. It sounds weird, but it is the most important thing that we can do and when I say love, I mean cherish and adore yourself.
Right.
Now, not cherish and adore everything around you or cherish and adore mistakes that you make or the things that you're doing, but who you are, and know that you were meant to do great things for the people that you come in contact with. I was thinking about the words I would use, and of course, to live, Brendan says live, love, matter, and I was thinking for me it's live, have the enthusiasm for life.
Right.
Love with my whole heart. Brene Brown talks about that.
Right.
And then the last part of it is serve those who need it.
Right.
Who are those people that who is that 1.5 person out there that's listening to this that needed to hear this today? I don't know. Maybe it's no one. Maybe it's 100 people. Maybe I don't know. But I am going to speak my truth and be who I am. And I encourage other people to do that. Love yourself and share the best of who you are with the world out there. Serve those people who are ready to hear what you have to say and who need you.
Great.
So
Thanks, Diane. So you heard it from Diane. Learn to love yourself more. And thank you so much for being on the Wellbeing Show, which has been all about taking the boo out of taboo.
Yay, thank you.